I think you say, got it. And then, yes. And you probably all know the routine. We can mute you and you can unmute yourself. And we actually had a wonderful moment when we presented in March, which was wonderful, but a little distracting and confusing for everyone involved, where someone was talking about their vacation to Hawaii while Nora was talking about her vacation to Italy, which in a way was interesting and in another way was distracting. So we urge you to remember to mute yourself. So we may have some audience members popping in, but without further ado, I present to you episode 2 of Home with the Helmers, Ibsen's Dollhouse, like you've never seen it before. Welcome to the continuing story of Home with the Helmers, brought to you by Keeler and Peterson, inspirational sweets since 1879. Keeler and Peterson, go ahead, nibble a macaroon or two. Home with the Helmers.
You, what is it? What do you want with my husband?
Bank business, in a way. I hold a small post at the Joint Stock Bank, and your husband is to be our new chief, I hear.
Then it is...
Only tiresome business, Mrs. Helmer. Nothing more.
Then will you please go into his study?
Nora? Who was that man?
Oh, Mr. Krogstad, a lawyer.
And it was really he.
Do you know him?
I used to know him many years ago. He was in a lawyer's office in our town.
Yes, so he was.
How he has changed.
I think his marriage was unhappy.
And he is a widower now?
With a lot of children. There. Now it'll burn up.
His business is not of the most credible, they say.
Isn't it? I dare say not, I don't know. But don't let us talk of business, it's so tiresome.
No, I'm in your way. I shall go and have a chat with your wife. Oh, I'm in the way here too.
No, not in the least. Dr. Rank, Mrs. Linden.
Oh, indeed. I've often heard Mrs. Linden's name in this house. I think I passed you on your way up the stairs.
Yes, stairs try me so much. I have to take them slowly.
Ah, have you hurt yourself?
Only overworked.
Nothing more? Then no doubt you've come to town to find rest in a round of holiday parties.
Oh, I have come to look for employment.
Is that an approved remedy for overwork?
One must live, Dr. Rank.
Oh, yes, that seems to be regarded as a necessity.
Come, Dr. Rank, you want to live?
Oh, to be sure I do. However wretched I may feel, I want to drag on as long as possible. And all my patients have the same mania. And it's the same with people who are morally sick. At this very moment, Helmer is talking to just such a moral incurable.
Ah,
What do you mean?
A fellow named Krogstad, a man corrupt to the very core of his character. But even he began by announcing, as a matter of vast importance, that he must live.
Indeed, and what did he want with Torvald?
I haven't the faintest idea. I only gathered it was some sort of bank business.
I didn't know that Mr. Krogstad had anything to do with the bank.
Yes, he's got some sort of position there. Mrs. Linden, I wonder, in your part of the world, do you have a species of creature that zealously goes snuffing about and smells out moral corruption? And as soon as they have found a case, they put that person into some lucrative position where they can keep their eye on him? The ones with healthy natures are left out in the cold.
well, but surely the sick are those who most need taking care of.
Yes, there you are. It is that sentiment that is turning society into a hospital. Why do you laugh at that? Have you any idea what society is?
What do I care for your tiresome society? I was laughing at something else. Something excessively amusing. Tell me, Dr. Rank, are all of the employees at the bank dependent on Torvald now?
Is that what strikes you as excessively amusing?
Never mind, never mind. Yes, it's funny to think that Torvald has so much power over so many people. Dr. Rank, will you have a macaroon?
What? A macaroon? I thought they were forbidden here.
Well, yes, but Christine brought me these.
What?
Oh, don't be frightened. You couldn't possibly know that Torvald had forbidden them. The fact is, he's afraid of me spoiling my teeth. But bother. Just for once. There's for you, Dr. Rank. And for you too, Christine. And I will have one as well. Maybe two. Oh, dear. I am so happy. There's only one thing in the world that I really, really want.
Well, what's that?
There's something I should so love to say in Torvald's hearing.
Why did you say it then?
Because I daren't. It's so ugly.
Ugly.
Well, in that case, you better not, but you might say it to us. What is it you would so like to say in Helmer's hearing?
I should so love to say, damn it all.
Nora, goodness gracious.
Well, Torvald dear, have you got rid of him?
Yes, he has just gone.
Oh, let me introduce you. This is Christine, who's just come to town.
Christine! Pardon
Mrs.
me, I don't...
Linden. Mrs. Linden, Torvald dear, Christine Linden.
Indeed. A school friend of my wife's, no doubt.
Yes, we knew each other as girls.
And only think she has taken this long journey on purpose to speak to you.
To speak to me.
Oh, well, not quite.
Christine is tremendously clever at office work. And she's so anxious to work under a first-rate man of business to learn still more.
Very sensible indeed.
And when she heard that you were appointed manager, it was telegraphed, she started off at once. And Torvald, dear, for my sake, you must do something for Christine. Now, can't you?
It's not impossible. I presume Mrs. Linden is a widow?
Yes.
And you have already had some experience of business?
Oh, a good deal.
Well then, it's very likely I may be able to find a place for you.
There now.
You have come at a very fortunate moment, Mrs. Linden.
Oh, how can I thank you?
Oh, there's no occasion, but for the present you must excuse me.
Oh, wait, I'm going with you.
Oh, don't be long, Torvald, dear.
Oh, only an hour, nothing more.
Oh, are you going too, Christine?
Oh, yes, I must set about looking for lodgings.
Perhaps we can go together.
What a pity we haven't a spare room for you, but it's impossible.
Oh, I shouldn't think of troubling you. Goodbye, dear Nora, and thank you for your
Let's
kindness.
not stand here in the draft.
Mrs. Linden.
Goodbye for the present. Of course you'll come back this evening. Bundle up, Dr. Rank. Oh! There they are. There they are. Come in. Come in. Oh, my sweet darlings. Come to me, my darlings. Oh, Emmy, my sweet Emmy, and my boys, Ivar and Bobby. Oh, how fresh and bright you look. And what red cheeks you have, like apples and roses. Oh, have you had a splendid time? That's wonderful. What? Oh, you've been giving Emmy and Bobby a ride on your sled both at once? Wow. Well, you're quite a man, Ivar. Oh, did you have a game of snowballs? Oh, I wished I'd been there. Anna, dear, you look frozen. Take Emmy to the nursery and get some coffee. There's a hot pot on the stove. What? A big dog ran after you, but he didn't bite you. Oh, no. Well, big dogs don't bite, dear little dolly children. Oh, shall we have a game? What shall we play at? Hide and seek? Oh, yes, let's play hide and seek. I'll hide first. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I beg your pardon. Mrs. Helmer?
What do you
Excuse me.
want?
The outer door was ajar. Somebody must have forgotten to shut.
My husband is not at home, Mr. Krogstad.
I know it.
Then what do you want here?
To say a few words to you.
To me? No, the strange man won't hurt Mommy. No, you go into the nursery. When he's gone, we'll go on playing. It's with me you wish to speak.
Yes, to you.
Today? But it's not the first yet.
No, today is Christmas Eve. It will depend upon yourself whether or not you have a Merry Christmas.
We will return to the continuing story of Home with the Helmers after this message from our sponsor. Our sponsor, Keeler and Peterson. The continuing story of Home with the Helmers is brought to you by Keeler and Peterson. Keeler and Peterson. Inspirational sweets since 1879. Go ahead. Nibble a macaroon or two. And for a limited time this holiday season, find in each Keeler and Peterson container a beautiful limited edition porcelain figurine. She's sweet too. Keeler and Peterson. Go ahead. Nibble a macaroon or two. We now return to Home with the Helmers.
What do you want? I'm not ready today.
Never mind that just now. I've come about another matter. You have a minute to spare?
Yes, I suppose so.
Good. I was sitting in the restaurant opposite, and I saw your husband go down the street.
Well?
With a lady.
What then?
May I ask if the lady was a Mrs. Linden?
Yes.
Who has just come to town?
Yes, today.
She is an intimate friend of yours, I believe.
Certainly, but I don't understand.
I used to know her too.
I know you did.
Ah, and you know all about it. I thought as much. Now, frankly, is Mrs. Linden to have a place in the bank?
How dare you catechize me in this way, Mr. Krogstad? You, a subordinate of my husband. But since you ask, you shall know. Yes, Mrs. Linden is to be employed, and it's I who recommended her. Now you know.
Then my guess was right.
You see, when one has a wee bit of influence, it doesn't follow because one's only a woman. When one is in a subordinate position, Mr. Krogstad, they ought really to be careful how they offend anyone who...
Who has influence?
Exactly.
Tell me, Mrs. Helmer, will you have the kindness to employ your influence on my behalf?
What? How do you mean?
Will you be so good as to see that I retain my subordinate position at the bank?
What do you mean? Who wants to take it from you?
Oh, you needn't pretend ignorance. I can very well see that it cannot be pleasant for your friend to meet me. And I can also now see for whose sake I am to be hounded out.
I assure you.
Come now. There is still time. And I advise you to use your influence to prevent it.
But Mr. Krogstad, I have no influence. Absolutely none.
None. But I thought you said a moment
Of
ago.
course, but not in that sense. I mean, how can you think that I would have such influence over my husband?
Oh, I know your husband from our college days. I don't suppose he's any more inflexible than other husbands.
If you talk disrespectfully of my husband, I must request you to leave the house.
You're bold, madam.
I'm afraid of you no longer. When New Year's Day is over, I shall soon be out of the whole business.
Listen, Mrs. Helmer. If need be, I shall fight as though for my life to keep my little place at the bank.
Yes, so it seems.
It's not for the salary. That is what I care least about. It's something else. Well, I'll tell you. I suppose you know, like everyone else, that a few years ago, I got into trouble.
I think I've heard something of the sort.
The matter never came to court, but from then on, all paths were barred to me. And so I took up the business that you know about. I had to try my hand at something, and I don't think I've been one of the worst. But now I've got to get clear of it all. My sons are growing older, and for their sake, I must try to restore my character as well as I can. This place in the bank was the first step. Now your husband wants to kick me off the ladder, back into the mire.
But I assure you, Mr. Krogstad, I haven't the least power to help you.
You have not the will. But I can compel you.
You wouldn't tell my husband that I owe you money.
Suppose I were to.
That would be shameful of you. The secret, which is my joy and my pride, that it should come from you in such an ugly and coarse way. It would involve me in all sorts of unpleasantness.
Only unpleasantness?
But just do it. For then my husband will see what a bad man you are, and then you will certainly not keep your place.
I asked if it was only domestic unpleasantness you feared.
If my husband gets to know about it, we will pay you off at once and will have nothing more to do with you.
Listen, Mrs. Helmer, either your memory is defective or you don't know too much about business. But I must make your position a little clearer to you.
How so?
When your husband was ill, you came to me to borrow 4,800 crowns.
I knew of nobody else.
I promised to find you the money.
And you did find it.
I promised to find you the money under certain conditions. You were so much taken up with your husband's illness and so eager to have the wherewithal for your journey that you probably did not give much thought to the details. Allow me to remind you of them. I promised to find you the money in exchange for a note of hand, which I drew up.
Yes, and I signed it.
Quite right. But then I added a few lines, making your father security for the debt. Your father was to sign this.
Was to, he did sign it.
I had left the date blank. That is to say, your father was himself to date his signature. Do you recollect that?
Yes, I believe.
And then I gave you the note to send to your father by post. Is that not so?
Yes.
And you did so at once, for within 4 or 5 days you brought me back the document with your father's signature, and I handed you the money.
Well, haven't I made my payments punctually?
Fairly, yes. But to return to the point, you were in great trouble at the time, Mrs. Helmer.
I was indeed.
Your father was quite ill, I believe.
He was on his deathbed.
And died soon after?
Yes.
Tell me, Mrs. Helmer, do you recollect the day your father died? The day of the month, I mean.
Father died on the 29th of September.
Quite correct. I've made inquiries. Now, here comes in the remarkable part.
Remarkable point. I don't understand.
The remarkable point, madam, that your father signed this paper 3 days after his death.
What? I don't know.
Your father died on the 29th of September. But look here. He has dated his signature October 2nd. Is that not remarkable, Mrs. Helmer? Can you explain it? It is noteworthy, too, that the words October 2nd and the year are not in your handwriting, but one in which I believe I know. Well, that can be explained. Your father may have forgotten to date his signature, and then somebody may have filled it in at random before the fact of his death was known. There's nothing wrong in that. Everything depends on the signature. Of course, it is genuine, Mrs. Helmer. It really was your father who himself signed this.
No, it was not. I wrote Father's name.
Ah. Are you aware, madam, that that is a dangerous admission?
How so? You will soon get your money.
May I ask you another question? Why did you not send the paper to your father?
It was impossible. Father was ill. If I had asked him for a signature, I should have had to tell him why I wanted the money. But he was so ill, I really couldn't tell him that my husband's life was in danger. It was impossible.
Then it would have been better to have given up your tour.
No. I couldn't do that. My husband's life depended on that journey. I couldn't give it up.
And did it never occur to you that you were playing me false?
I was nothing to me. I didn't care the least about you. I couldn't endure you for all the cruel difficulties you made, although you knew how ill my husband was.
Listen, Mrs. Helmer, you evidently do not realize what it is that you have been guilty of, but I can assure you it was nothing more and nothing worse that made me an outcast from society.
You want me to believe that you did a brave thing to save your wife's life.
The law takes no account of motives.
Then it must be a very bad law.
Bad or not, if I produce this document in court, you will be condemned according to law.
I don't believe that. Do you mean to tell me that a daughter has no right to spare her dying father trouble and anxiety? That a wife has no right to save her husband's life? I don't know much about the law, but I think that you will find that somewhere or another that is allowed, and you don't know that. You a lawyer. You must be a bad one, Mr. Krogstad.
Possibly. But business, such business as ours, I do understand. You believe that. Very well. Do as you please. But this I will tell you, that if I am to be thrown into the gutter a second time, you shall keep me company.
Nonsense. He wants to frighten me. I'm not so foolish as that. But it's impossible. Why, I did it for love.
Join us next time for the continuing story of Home with the Helmers, sponsored by Keeler and Peterson. Keeler and Peterson, inspirational sweets since 1879. Yes, thank you for unmuting yourself and wooing.
Bravo!
Thank you all so much for being here to spotlight the cast. We had Kristen Morano as Ellen Anna. We have Connie Hall as Torvald Helmer, and also Ivar and Bobby. Kristen also played Emmy, Nora Helmer's youngest. And we had Rebecca Harris as Christine Linden. Woo! Margie Sharp Douglas, of course, as Nora Helmer. And I am Rachel Murdy. I played Dr. Rank and also had the pleasure of directing this project with this incredible group of people. I'd like to thank my assistant and stage manager, Patty Garvey. Thank you, Patty. And we're going to say aloha for now to Patty because she has to run off and pack because she has a gig at Bard College. Not live on Zoom, live in Annandale on Hudson. So thank you, Patty. We'll stop recording now.
Thank you, Patty.
And I want to thank all